Welcome to PGSMaths. In this video, I will be looking at division using whole numbers. Now, division can be written in many ways. We can use this sign, which looks like a subtraction but has a dot above and below, means divide. We can say divide a number by something else, split the number into groups, or look at how many numbers something goes into something else. But they all mean the same thing. We're looking at taking a start number, in all of these examples 12, and dividing them by another value. It's always important to identify what number we are starting with, as that can affect our solutions. So what does it mean by divide? Well, the easiest way to think of it is divide means split into groups. So here I have 12 coloured circles. I'm going to look at the question 12 divided by 2. Now this could mean one of two things. It could mean split 12 into two groups. So how many is in each group? So if we split those into two equally sized groups, we can see that each group has 6 circles in. So therefore the answer would be 6. This could also mean split 12 into groups of 2 and see how many groups we can make. So if we separate these into different sets, each with 2 circles in, we can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups. So 12 divided by 2 will be 6 no matter how we look at it. A very typical method for division is called the bus stop method, also known as short division. It's a very quick and methodical way to divide whole numbers and decimals. So what does this first question ask us? It tells us we have the number 24. This is what we're starting with, and we're going to split it into groups of 2. Start at the left hand side and work along to the right. 2's into 2, so 2 divided by 2. Well, how many 2's fit into 2? That's just 1. There's only one 2. 1 times 2 is 2. So therefore we would write the 1 above this value. Next we move along and look at the number 4. How many 2's fit into 4? Well, the 2 times 2 is 4, so therefore the answer is 2. Let's look at another example and see what happens if it doesn't fit in exactly. Here we have the number 84. 84 divided by 6. So the question is saying how many times does 6 go into each of these values? So 6 is into 8. Well, 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. That's too big, so we can only fit 1 6 into 8. That leaves us with 2 left over. And those 2 remainers pass over here. And we now have the number 24. How many 6's go into 24? 6, 12, 18, 24. So that's 4. So the answer to 84 divided by 6 is 14. Now I mentioned that we can also divide decimals in exactly the same way. So let's look at quite an easy example of 2.5 divided by 5. Treat this exactly the same as you would a whole number. We start at the left and think how many 5's will go into each of these values. How many 5's in 2? Well, that's nothing. 2 left over. 2 carries on to the next value to give us 25. So how many 5's in 25? It's 5. So is my answer 5? Are there 5 5's in 2.5? Well, that can't be right. What we have to do is make sure that this decimal point stays in the same place in our answer. So therefore we have 2.5 divided by 5 equals 0.5. One way to check your answers to see if they actually make sense would be to multiply these two numbers together, because the opposite of divide is multiply. So therefore, if we have 5 multiplied by 0.5, maybe make it look like a multiplier would help. Well, 0.5 is a half, so half of 5 is 2.5. Let's try this next one and see what happens when we run out of numbers. So 62 divided by 4. How many 4s fit into 6? That's 1, with 2 left over. So the 2 remainder passes here to give us 22. 22 divided by 4. Well, 5 4s is 20. That fits in and leaves us with 2 remainder. But there's nothing to pass it on to. 2 is passed here. So what number is missing at the end of a whole number? Well, any whole number can also be written as having a decimal point and a 0 afterwards. 62.0 is the same as 62. So therefore we now have the number 20. 4s into 20 is 5. Remembering to keep our decimal point in the same place. What this also tells us is that 4 multiplied by 15.5 must equal 62. Now there's a very special series of numbers that could cause quite a lot of problems if you try dividing in this method. And this is one of them. Let's just see what happens. 1 divided by 3. Be careful not to do it the other way around. The answer is not 3, because 3 times 3 is 9. How many 3s fit into 1? None. There are no 3s in 1. You cannot change the order of the calculation. So that 1 carries across. How many 3s fit into 10? Well, we've just mentioned that that would be 3, with 1 remainder. So what happens when we reach the end of our whole number? Yeah, we still need to put point 0. Decimal point stays in the same place in our answer. And then we're looking at 3s into 10. But we know that's 3. And we know that's 1 carried across. And we know that the next value would be 0. So 3s into 10 is 3, with 1 remainder. Next number is 0, etc., etc. This will continue on forever. And this is called a recurring decimal. As soon as you realize that you're going to get the same pattern over and over again, you could just stop, because you know that this will go on forever. Generally 3 dots will indicate that that's a repeating pattern, or you could put a dot above the repeating number there, just to show that that number is the one that's going to go on. Last thing I wanted to look at is what happens if you're dealing with a number that's either too big to divide by, or if you just don't know your 12 times tables in this example. Easiest thing to do is to actually just write down next to the question all the multiples of the number you're trying to divide by. So I'm going to start by writing down a few multiples of 12. So I've got 12. 12 add 12 is 24. Add another 12. That becomes 36. Add another 12 will become 48. If I add 12 on again, that becomes 60. Add 12 becomes 72. You can take your time doing this, making sure you've got the right times table written down. Adding can be much easier for some people than just trying to memorize their times tables. You don't have to go all the way. You don't have to go very far, because if you don't find the value you're after, you can always add more later. So let's go back to our question. 12s into 6. Again, 6 is the number we're trying to divide. We're dividing 6 by 12. So therefore, there are none. 12's far too big. And leaves us with 6 left over. Now we have 12s into 62. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 12s is the biggest that we can actually fit into 62. And that leaves us with 2 remainder. So that passes to the next value. 12s into 24. 1, 2 exactly. So that leaves us with 52. So remember, what that can also tell you would be that 12 multiplied by 52 is 624. There are a lot of different methods for division. If this doesn't work for you, have a look around. See which ones you can find. Maybe you'll find a different one that suits you. Personally, I think this one is one of the quickest and easiest methods you can use. So here's our challenge. It's quite a difficult one, this one, but a very important challenge to try and face and see what you can discover about division. Fractions are turned into decimals by using division. For example, 3/4 is the same as 3 divided by 4. So you take the top number, divide it by the bottom number, and in this case it will give you 0.75. So I want you to see what you can notice about these fractions when they're turned into decimals. We have 1/9, 2/9, 3/9, 4/9, 5/9, 6/9, 7/9, and 8/9. You should start to notice a pattern. When you notice that pattern, can you work out what 9/9 would be? Leave your answers in the comment section below. Please subscribe for future videos and leave any comments, questions or advice that you might give for future videos. Also remember, we are on Facebook /PGSMaths and on Twitter @PGSMaths. Thanks for watching.